Welcome. I've been expecting you. You have journeyed many, many miles through many hardships to find your way here. You come to seek your destiny. But I wonder if you're ready to know what the future holds in store for you. Tell me, traveler, do you know the mind of the moon? Yes, the moon that shines above us and lights the way through midnight paths. She may not always beam so brightly, but her influence will always be felt throughout the ages. Beautiful, constant, deadly if ever she wills it. It is her power that controls the tides of time that affects all beings in this world of darkness. And she has set in motion a series of events that will forever change this darkened landscape, including you, my weary traveler. How about we lay the cards out and I fill you in. On the path I see you are no stranger to kindred kind, and you do not fear us. Hold fast to that courage, traveler. It will serve you well in the days to come. Now, I know what it is you seek, but first, sit back and allow me to tell you a tale. There are many players, so listen closely, and you may yet find clues to what that heavenly orb has in store for you. It all started with a certain Malkavian. These kindred were cursed by the blood of Malkav, which drove them insane upon their turning, but also bestowed upon them great gifts and insight. I, too, am of this clan, and know of Alicia well, a collector of sorts, always in search for newest possession. She found the greatest price in her little one, after a chance encounter that would change them both. She acted swiftly to make the human her own, by feeding them her blood and making them her goal. This imbued them with strength, vitality, and a singular devotion to their new mistress. The two then enjoyed a time of mutual bliss, as the possessor and the possessed received their greatest desires in each other. However, that was not all Alicia sought, and she would soon after meet with one from the Tremere clan and make a deal to acquire some of their secret knowledge. The Tremere were a close-knit clan who lived much of their unlives secluded in chantries, studying thaumaturgy or blood magic. Caladora, a gifted acolyte with a penchant for tentacles, sent by her supervisors to provide lessons to Alicia in exchange for an ancient tome. Kelly did so willingly, for she loved to learn and teach arcane knowledge. Her natural gift did not go unnoticed among the clan leadership either, but this did not prevent them from overlooking her time and again whenever a higher position among the chantry ranks presented itself. Meanwhile, an exquisite toreador, known for their beauty and love of the same, was hosting a masquerade ball at Club Static in Amsterdam. Celine had not expected to fall in love with a human that night, but she was both immediately and inexplicably drawn to one in particular from across the room. Upon meeting, their feelings for one another were overwhelming, and against her better judgment, she decided to sire them that very night. This was done by draining them of every drop of blood and feeding them a portion of her own. The human is now her child and hers to love, as far as any kindred can love, to care for, and more importantly, to protect. For Celine knew the law as well as any kindred, that no one may sire without permission from the prince. The Prince of Amsterdam was a Ventru named Maria van der Hoef. The Ventru were born leaders whose gifts in the art of domination knew few equals. Relatively young for kindred and a prince, Maria attained her position after the unseemly demise of her sire some years prior. She ruled with an iron fist, and did not take kindly upon learning that Celine had undermined this rule. By rights, the toreador and her child could have been put to death, but Maria's sadistic nature drove her to a punishment more fitting than final. Instead, she forced Celine to pay her debt by performing the most unsavory of tasks and favors. As Maria presided over the Kindred of Amsterdam and kept peace within the clans in the city, she would oftentimes send her most trusted agents to perform missions of stealth and intrigue. Known by many names, Anastasia, Sarah, Noah, Laurie was a master of disguise and needles. The two had known each other since their mortal lives, but Laurie had never been made kindred by her friends and now prince. This allowed her to perform her duties during the day, which made her a most valuable asset. But Laurie had always questioned whether or not she would be a more effective agent if given the dark gift. Her most important mission would require her to steal the tome from Alicia that had been promised to the Tremere. Unfortunately, despite knowing of the Malkavian's exploits, her whereabouts were unclear. To remedy this, Maria would send one of her agents to the depths of the sewers to entreat with a Nosferatu. Nosferatu were hideous creatures, but also keepers of secrets and masters of technology. Angela, with her quick wit and unrivaled collection of catgirl porn, was no exception, and quickly located Alicia's haven in the city. Pleased, the prince would come to call upon Angela regularly to find all manner of thing that could not be found. With regards to that tome, where or how Alicia had obtained it was unknown, only that it contained valuable arcane knowledge that the prince, upon hearing of its existence, desired greatly. In order to fulfill her mission, Lori had to intercept the tome before it arrived at the Chantry, and thereby becoming lost to the outside world forever. The blonde-haired agent made her way to Alicia's haven, but unfortunately for her, she was caught in the act by a mysterious Malkavian. She made a deal with the imposing vicar, who then allowed her to abscond with the book, but little did she know that he had also cast a powerful delayed dementation, which would render her completely catatonic shortly after delivering her prize to the prince. Maria was deeply pained upon learning what had befallen her oldest friend. This drove her to make a deal with a member of the La Sombre clan who possessed mastery over shadow and darkness. The La Sombre woman agreed to sire the unconscious ghoul, but was then betrayed by the prince, who staked her in the act and allowed Lori to diablerize her. This was done by draining every last drop of blood from her body, which gave the newly turned Kindred the strength and power of her sire's generation. With Lori saved, the prince turned her attention towards Alicia, whose power and unpredictability she rightly perceived as a threat. She used Celine as bait, as the Toreador was in possession of a rosary that the Malkavian was convinced had belonged to her as a mortal. Just as Alicia was in the midst of diablerizing the poor Toreador, Lori, with her newfound powers and shadow tendrils, arrived and staked Alicia in the heart. As you know, a stake through the heart is not enough to kill a kindred, but instead renders them paralyzed. Ever the one to let punishment fit the crime, Prince Vanderhoff then agreed that Alicia be sent to the Arkham Asylum, to let her alone in a cell and forever be consumed by her own madness. Despite the prince's gratitude for a job well done, Lori couldn't help but feel at odds with her new powers and current role within the city's hierarchy. she began to experiment with uptenebration, the way of the shadows, and was able to hone her abilities even more, thereby increasing her lust for power. After much deliberation, she decided to leave her prince's side and defect to the Sabbat. These were the two main factions of Kindred society and old enemies. The Camarilla controlled Amsterdam under Prince van der Hoof's watchful eye, but the members of the Sabbat were never far and always looking for opportunities to assume control. One of the leaders of the local Sabbat was Raylene, a vengeful Lasombra with a love of the macabre. Raylene accepted Laurie's proposition to provide key information on the Camarilla in Amsterdam, but as careful as Laurie had been to hide her true intentions, to be a double agent and to infiltrate the Sabbat, she was found out by Raylene and confronted by a legion of angry Sabbat. They quickly subdued her, and their sadistic leader promised to draw out her suffering for as long as inhumanly possible. Of course, once Maria was informed of Laurie's true mission, she knew she must intercede. She sought the aid of a gangrel that lived in a nearby wood. The gangrel clan are more feral by nature and take on animalistic traits whenever they accede to the inner beast. The cat-like Jackie was known to the prince through prior dealings with her agent, and they had a mutual understanding to let the former live peacefully in their wooded territory. However, Maria knew of the gangrel's fervent hatred for the Sabbat, and approached her once more to give her an offer she couldn't refuse: rescue Laurie and revel in killing the 20 or so Sabbats that held her captive. Jackie agreed, and it was done. But who could forget of the poor Malkavian locked away in Arkham? Seeking her freedom, she was able to reach out to her little one for aid. Through solving a series of riddles, they were able to locate Mr. Wiggles, Alicia's loyal plushie, who was able to free her from the asylum. Reunited again, the white-haired Malkavian was finally able to embrace her little one and make them her child. And now, traveler, you have heard the mind of the moon. What part will you play in what lies ahead, you may ask? Will you be a passive observer or a willing participant? The choice is yours, of course. But are you ready for the storm that rides upon the horizon? It yet is barely visible, but will enter in swiftly as a knife and penetrate the lives of all upon this darkened stage. You are free to proceed as you wish, but I beseech you, traveler, beware the dagger.